up-close video. So today's one is looking at some brand new alphabet stencils from Creative Expressions. I'm not 100% sure if they're being sold as a set of alphabets or as individual letters. I guess it depends where you buy them from probably, because when they launch I presume it will be like a bundle and you buy the whole lot together, because my ones came in individual little cellophane bags, so I presume they're going to be separate letters, but you could buy the whole bundle if you wanted to. But basically you've got the entire alphabet. I've actually put mine on one of these like little bookbinder rings that you can just take them all off of. So you've got the entire alphabet. I've kept a couple out because I got some ideas to show you with them, but the hole was in the slightly wrong place for my A, so I just redid that. But we've got the whole alphabet and all of the numbers 0 to 9 as well. So we've got A and then B, just so you can see the font, because sometimes it's quite nice to see the font of them all. And then D, E, F, G, H. So they're quite a nice kind of, they look nice by themselves, but they could be more of like a scaffolding font as well, if you know what I mean. So you could trace round, but don't trace these kind of bits where they are going to not join, and then when you take the stencil off you can join them up. I'll show you what I mean at the end of the video, but I think they look really nice just being used as they are, like tracing through them, spraying through them, using inks and stuff on the actual stencil, flipping it over and pressing a print as well. They're great for all sorts of different techniques, but I think you can also use them just to get some really nice font that looks like you have hand drawn it rather than just stenciled it as well. So that's the first 8, and then you've got I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Some of them are a little bit dirty because I've been using them. But you've got, I also like the fact that all of the stencils are the same width, and obviously the letter is just fills up more of it or less of it, which is really nice actually, because sometimes with stencils like this they're all sort of a weird size because the I's really skinny and the J's more skinny, but the M's really wide and stuff, and then it's more difficult to kind of store them in a nice organised kind of way. But when they're all exactly the same size it works out really nicely. Then you've got Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, oh, X. I kept that one out because I was going to show you something with it. So really nice font. I love the S with the swooping kind of bits on it. And I love this slanted angle on them as well. I'm kind of hoping that they'll bring out like a distressed typewriter font in this kind of style of stencil. I think that would be really good. And then you've got Y and Z. And then you've got O or 0. Does that look the same as the O? I haven't actually looked at that. No, I can't find the O. They are a tiny bit different. So if you did want to save on buying one stencil, I guess you could just have the O or the 0, but the 0 is slightly bigger, slightly chunkier than, or slightly, this portion's bigger basically, so it's a wider kind of letter for the 0. That's the O, because I've used the O so it's dirty, so I know which one was which. Okay, so that's the 0, the 1, and then 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then I want to keep that one out because I want to show you something with it, and that one I'm going to have to reorder them all now. And then 6, 7, 8, and you get 9 because the 9 is different to the 6. A lot of the time companies give you just the 6 or the 9 and then you flip it up the other way for it to be the other one, but these are actually a little bit different. So, but this one is supposed to be the 6 I think, and this is supposed to be the 9, but you could use them up the other way if you wanted to as well. They both look like a 6 and a 9, but I think this one does look more like a 9 and this one looks more like a 6 when they're those way ups, if that made any sense. Okay, so those are all of the stencils. Then I've got a few examples to show you, but I didn't get a chance to do these ideas, so I'm going to just... I'll save it till the end. I'll save it till the end and I'll show you some couple of ideas I had with the X and the 2. And I'll also show you what I meant by like tracing round the letter and not... let's show you with a Z actually, that might be a cool one. And maybe I could show you with a 5. So I show you a number and a letter. Just how to kind of use it as more of a scaffolding, so it makes it look like you've hand drawn the font rather than stenciling it. But let's show you the cards that I've done. So I have actually filmed 3 videos using these. So this is one of the videos that I filmed, and this was showing how you can create a messy, inky, kind of art journal-y style background. This is the kind of thing I do in my art journal, and I actually used the Airless Misters spray inks to just I did a whole A4 sheet, just messy, inky background, and then I used a couple of stencils and used Distress oxides and stuff through them, and did a bit of stamping. I used a white paint pen to add some detail in the background and also some glitter markers as well. And then the main point of this card was to show how you can utilise both the inside and outside of the stencil at the same time. So I saw the Y here. So you can see, if I take the Y, you can see how I've placed that on there. And then I used black gesso and a ink blending tool with a foam on it. And I just gessoed around it, but I didn't do this side. I just did the 3 main sides and the Y, and then I took the O and I put the O there, lining up the top and the bottom, and then I just inked the O. And you can look through the stencil, so you'll be able to see where the first letter stops, so you know where you want to put the next letter. And then for the final one you can space it so you get the same distance between the letters, and all you want to do is just make sure that you keep the outside of the stencils straight, so you get a nice straight line as you're sort of adding the paint around the edge to give you that kind of a border. I mean, you could do that in other ways if you just had other kind of alphabet stencils that weren't all single, like individual ones, but I just thought having that rectangle around them lends itself to this kind of idea where you're sort of blocking off the letter and the border, but you're keeping the background behind it, and you haven't got to sort of paint around or ink around the letters. You can just put them straight over the top in black gesso, or you could use a matte acrylic paint as well. I just think the matte looks really nice against it. And then you could see actually here, when I was inking, I kind of forgot about the hole. On the others, I didn't ink the little hole from the corner, but on this one, I kind of forgot, and I thought it looked a little bit odd just having a circle there, so I just used a black paint pen and made it into a heart, and then I outlined it with a white paint pen, and same with the rest of this. Once it was dry, I did a scribbly white paint pen border, and I did scribbly outlines around the black letters as well. And when you're using paint like this, the kind of scaffolding kind of idea I'm going to show you later, you could easily get some of the black gesso on your paintbrush and paint over the gaps, so that each letter is a continuous letter and it doesn't look as if you stenciled it. It looks more like you freehand painted it, because it hasn't got these bits missing, obviously, because the stencil, they need to be missing so that it stays together and it's not too flimsy. Like if there weren't these pieces missing out of the design, the centre of the O would fall away and then you'd have to try and place it in the right place. But so with a stencil you need these kind of missing portions of the design. And then to finish this card off, I used these stamps. I really love these. I really want to use these in my art journal. There's 2 different sets of these. They're woodware, and they're some of Jane Gill's designs, and this one's called Brush Script Caps, and there's also a lowercase one as well. So this one obviously have all the capitals, and the other one you have all the lowercase letters, and they work really nicely in conjunction with each other if you just want a capital at the beginning of the word for a name or something, but also you can just use like all capitals together. And originally I wanted to do thank, and then I was going to have you like this, but I felt like that was going to make a humongous card, and I'm not that keen on making big cards, so I just went for you and I put the thank on it. So I thought this card is big enough because it's still quite a large kind of card. I ended up making an A5 card blank and then like trimming it down so it would fit the main panel that I'd created as well. So that is one way of using these kind of stencils, using them to get the inside and the outside at the same time and putting them up against each other but still utilising that outside edge to sort of make part of your design really. Then this one I literally just did this morning because I was just having fun stenciling through them, so like using them as a stencil. And I also brought in, oh, this one, it's called Dissolving Mesh, this one. I really love this one, and it looks really nice when you've sort of doodled it as well. It's kind of random, this. I just had this idea and I thought I'd just give it a go. It's not really my usual style, but it kind of worked alright. And I just used a little bit of one of the opal blazes around the edge as well. I can't resist using them. Oh, it wasn't that one. It was Sapphire Grape that I used around the edge. You can see it, I don't know if you can see it actually. It goes from purple to blue. Really pretty, that one. I just thought it would add something extra, and all I did was just do like an ombre of colour from the numbers and around the edge, and then I just added a little bit of shading through all of that stenciling that I'd done. And I did the same kind of thing here, so if you can see there, the two rectangles are the same height. I actually used the outside of the number as well as the number to trace around it. So that's how I got that rectangle. That is using the two stencils to get the rectangular design. And then when I was using the dissolving mesh over the top, I just avoided where I'd already stenciled the number, and that was just using a fine liner, one of these Arteza ones. And you just want to make sure you hold it nice and upright and then draw through it to get a nice crisp line around it. So that's just a really quick idea. I didn't film that one. Then let's show you these ones next. Well, no, let's show you these ones. So this is another video that I filmed, and it's Tracy that keeps sending me all these gorgeous Creative Expressions and Cosmic Shimmer products to use, so I thought I would send her a thank you card. And in this video, this is one of the videos, I also made another 3 cards. I did one for my mum, one for my nan, and one for our neighbour as well, in this same style. And I don't know, I just thought of, I think it was when I was falling asleep, I just thought of this idea. But you know, I love doing that technique where you spray through a stencil or you put ink through a stencil or whatever, and then you've made it all dirty, but you then take the stencil and you flip it over and you get the other impression. I was like, oh, that would be a really cool way of using these. So basically what you do is, if you wanted a Y for like Yvonne, you would, what I was doing in the video, you'll see, I was placing it on the card like this is the way round I want it, and then I was flipping this over the other way. And the way I was doing the colour was I took like the mini little cubes of Distress Inks, you press them onto the stencil to get it covered in colour, then you spray it with water, and then I was taking 1 or 2 pixie powders and sprinkling that on as well, and then sprayed that with a little bit more water, and then you pick this up carefully and flip it over and press it onto your card, so you actually get the letter in the perfect rectangle shape, which works really nicely with Sue Wilson's double stitched rectangles. It's a slightly bigger gap top and bottom, but it gives a really nice effect. And these two here that I'm showing you was actually the first and second like generation, so I'd added the ink to the back of this one, pressed it on, and then I was like, oh, there's still quite a bit left on there, so I sprayed it with some more water and added it on again. So it's missing that bottom corner, but I quite liked how that one was sort of more imperfect. I think this was my favourite out of all of those cards I did in that video. But I just thought that's another cool different way of using it. And then obviously you still get the hole in the top corner. So all you do is, whilst this is all still wet, you just tap around it and then the hole closes up. So you never really know that that was there. And it looks like you've been quite clever. It looks like the technique, you know, when you take an acrylic block and you do that kind of thing where you pat your ink pads on or you use shimmer powders or whatever and you spray it and then you flip it over and press it onto the card. It looks like that technique, but you've got the letter missing in the middle. So I thought it was a really cool technique to show, and just goes to show that you don't have to use large alphabets like this just to make the obvious kind of things like bunting or something, or a sign like a welcome home sign or happy birthday to a specific person, or for a specific birthday maybe. You know, you don't just want to celebrate the normal birthdays, you want to do like 47 or something. You know, you can do those kind of personalised things too, but I wanted to show more card making things because obviously, you know, I love making my cards from the nearly 1,000 videos on my channel. But yeah, I just thought it was another cool technique to show you. And then all I did to finish these off, I was using the uppercase and the lowercase of those brush script letters to do the name on it. And then I just used that same black fine liner to do a scribbly border around the edge and a scribbly border around the letter. And I'd also added in a little bit of stamping as well. I think I was using oxides to do my stamping. I think I was. I only did this like the day before yesterday and I already can't remember how I made them. But and I just used a few, like, I think these are off the 2 journaling stamp sets that I got a little while ago, and then I used some more of the pixie powders to water it down and splatter it on. I love this look. This looks so cool. I used to do this all the time and I always forget to do it now. I've been doing it a lot with the Opal Blaze recently, but that's just pixie powders in those shimmery little dots. It looks really cool. So and then I just finished the final thing off with a few of the iridescent clear sequins as well. So that was another kind of use for these sort of stencils. And then the final one, the final video, is 3 different cards. So this was actually the first, I did this one in the video, but I'd already tried this beforehand, is basically what I'm trying to say. And this was the first time I played with these stencils. So I took out A, B, C and D and I picked 4 colours of distress inks, and I actually ended up using, these all came in a set actually. I got mustard seed, spice marmalade, peacock feathers and picked raspberry, and I assigned 1 colour of ink to each A, B, C or D, and then all I did was just cover the background. So here I've done A in yellow, B in orange, C in pink and D in the blue kind of colour, and I just built up a whole letter jumble kind of background. I think this would look really cool in an art journal, maybe on top of an inked background. Adding this kind of thing in, and maybe even hiding a word inside it that's like the theme of the page and stuff as well. But yeah, I just thought it was a really cool, funky kind of a background. And then I've added in a little bit of stenciling with some of the snow and ice luster polish, and then you can also see I doodled around all of the stenciled letters with some of the Sakura Stardust Jelly Roll pens as well. And then I just finished it off with some of the Lisa Horton Ticker Tape sentiments. I really love them because it's like using my Dymo, but I don't have to use all my tape up for my Dymo. So that is that one. So there's 3 in this video. That was like the odd one out. And then these 2 were both different ways of using the stencils with masking fluid. So I was using the Cosmic Shimmer masking fluid, and for this one I traced around the numbers 2 and 8, and I shifted them off slightly so the 8 is slightly higher, so it sort of nestles into the 2 a bit more. I traced them in pencil, and then I took an old paintbrush that I didn't care about and some of the masking fluid, and then I just painted in the number 2 and the number 8 and then let that dry. And I also flicked some on in the background. You can see those pure white splats. That's where I flicked on the masking fluid. And then for this one I actually used, still got it here, this thing is called a ruling pen. Me and my mum really like watching this lady called Alison C. Board. She's been on Ho Chanda, and we just got her new book and DVD, and she uses this quite a bit to do sort of like fine lines of masking, and it's called a ruling pen, and basically it's like an ink quill, you know, like when you dip your quill in ink to write with, but you can use it with masking fluid, and obviously it doesn't ruin it. Like with a brush it kind of ruins the brush unless you use the Pebeo drawing gum, but it basically has these two little prongs on it, and you use this wheel to determine the width. So this was the width that I was using to do this card. I haven't changed it since then, and all you do is dip it in your masking fluid, and then you want to like just draw with it. You might need a few practice goes to get it to flow nicely, but you just want to make sure that the opening is facing upwards, and then it should work. I didn't have too much trouble with using it, and then you just sort of trace it around. So basically what I did for this card is I got my 3-letter word, and I used pencil to trace the 3 letters next to each other, and then once I'd done that I just went straight over the pencil lines with the masking fluid and the ruling pen and just masked that all off. And then for both of these I used these same 4 colours because it was in the same video as this one. This one I did a sort of burst kind of effect going from the lightest colour in the middle outwards, and this one I did a stripy effect. Then I also, whilst the masking fluid was still on, I went over with some stamps. This is the Smashed stamp from Andy Skinner, and this is a dotty background stamp from Lisa Horton. And I used coordinating colours to kind of stamp over the same kind of areas. Then also, before I took the masking fluid off, I used that same snow and ice through the same stencil I'd used on the other one, just to add a little bit of shimmer in the background. And then, once that was all dry and everything, I just peeled off the masking fluid. And for this one, I peeled it off, it obviously revealed the pure white, and then I just took a black paint pen, and scribbled all the way around the edge of it, did like little dashes and stuff to make it look really messy and artsy, and then just added 3 of those ticker tape sentiments on there as well. So you've got many happy returns, and then it says 28, so you could obviously do that for any birthday. I just did 28 because that's my next one. And then for this one, I'd done all of that background, I peeled off the masking fluid, and I felt like it was getting a little bit too lost because it was just the white. And once I was thinking about adding the black sentiments on, I thought the hay is going to get a bit lost because it's just the white on the colour. So I took the same paint pen and just drew around the interior of the white lines just to give it more definition, basically, and make it stand out more. So it goes, hey, and then you're fabulous, and it's using the 2 of the ticker tape sentiments again. So oh, and I also have one more project to show you as well. Those are the card making kind of projects that you can do with these. And then this one is a canvas that I made. So I thought, obviously at the moment you want to support the NHS and the carers, and I thought it would be a really cool kind of project to do using these letters. So I just got, it's a Poundland canvas I've had lying around for ages. I took some of the Andy Skinner structure paste, and I did the N and the S first, laying the H in the middle so I knew my spacing was right, let them dry, and then came back and did the H, and then let that dry. And then for all of this texture around the edge, it's just some old bubble wrap that's been lying around for ages. I've just added a few different areas of bubble wrap. This is an embossing folder. Oops, knocking my paper everywhere. It's called Ribbon Swirls. It's one of the 3D embossing folders from Creative Expressions. Gives a really cool look. And all I did was, I've got a spare bit of it here actually. I just had a scrap piece of white card, and I just embossed that and then tore it into different pieces and added that in different places. And then I came back in with some crackle paste. You can see a little bit of crackle paste down here, and also some strata paste, which is really cool. It gives this kind of a look. It's all like flaky and different sort of flakes that are laying on top of each other. I really love the look of that. And then I also put some of the 3D accents, you know, like the PVA glues and stuff that Cosmic Shimmer do. I just dropped that in a few different places. There's anywhere there's like a little dome, that's what I used there. And then I also came back in with some Cosmic Shimmer glue and put that in areas, and then used some of the medium glass microbeads that they used to do. I'm not sure if they still do them anymore, but I've still got some, so I really love the look of them on these kind of mixed media canvases. And I think I added a bit more texture paste and stuff as well. Then I let that completely dry, and then I was using my Pebeo acrylic paints actually, but the Arteza ones that I've shown you as well would be brilliant. The Pebeo ones were just closer and I was lazy. And I just painted it in a rainbow, going diagonally across. So I painted the whole thing in rainbow colours. I did do 2 coats of paint just because I didn't gesso it first. Usually I would gesso it first, but everything that I'd used was white or clear, so I thought there wasn't really much point in gessoing it. So then I just did 1 coat of the rainbow and then another coat of the rainbow. Or actually, before I painted it, I also put these butterflies on too. I forgot to mention that. That one's kind of got stuck in the paint. But these are the butterflies from the Cascading Butterflies die set from Sue Wilson. This one came out quite some time ago, maybe 2 to 3 years ago, but I just cut that twice. I think it has 6 butterflies in it, and I cut it twice and used almost all of them on here, just to have a scattering of butterflies going diagonally across. So once I'd done that, I then painted it and did the 2 coats of the rainbow. Then I decided to dry brush it with white. So I dry brushed this direction and this direction with white acrylic paint. And then before I finished, I painted over the NHS with the white acrylic paint, so that whatever I was going to do to it afterwards, this would definitely stand out. And then I also watered down some of my acrylic paint and flicked it on, the white, and flicked it on as well. Then once that was dry, I came back in with the Snow and Ice Luster Polish, which I mentioned earlier. It's one of my favourites. I think any of these polishes and pastes and things, it's always best to go for white or clear to begin with, because you can use it for so many different things and you can find out what kind of thing is your favourite and then get more colours in that. And I also used the Pearl Luster Gilding Polish as well, because I probably do have almost the entire rainbow of like gilding polishes, but I just felt, because I dry brushed the white on it, I thought adding pearly and clear sort of glittery things would work really nicely. So I mostly just used my finger to apply it, and you can see it's sort of caught all of the detail. You probably saw it a bit earlier, but around like the crackle on top of the bubble wrap. I did it around the edges a bit as well to catch the texture of the canvas, and I also painted over the NHS with the pearl as well. So I just used it to accent all of the sort of raised texture areas. And then finally I came in with the Snow and Ice Luster Polish. On the NHS I was just tapping it over, and then in other places I was just using my finger, like on the butterflies I added that to all the butterflies, and then there's sort of just areas of it, it disappears from there, but it catches the light nicely basically. So I just added that in a few different places as well to give it a little bit of a difference. I didn't film this because these kind of projects are really annoying to film, because you kind of have to have it around on your desk for days because things take a long time to dry, and then I can't film the next bit because it's dark outside and stuff. But yeah, it's a really easy kind of project to do. So hopefully you might give this kind of thing a go. It's really nice to display this sort of thing in your window, or even to give it to somebody you know maybe who works in the NHS, or you could even do the word carer as well if you wanted to, or even the name of the person as well that you might know in person. But I just thought it was a cool way of using the stencils, and I mean it doesn't have to be for what's going on at the moment in the world. It could be just for someone's birthday, or for your mum. You could just have MUM in the middle of a canvas like this and do some cool kind of project. And just using up bits and pieces that you already have, like this die is 2 or 3 years old, and this embossing folder's maybe been out a year or so, but I'm sure you'd have tons of embossing folders in your stash, or even from magazine freebies as well. And then just bubble wrap, you know, pretty much everybody's got bubble wrap lying around from something, and if you don't actually have any bubble wrap itself, you might have an old Jiffy bag that you're not using anymore. That has bubble wrap inside it, so you can rip the paper off the Jiffy bag and use the bubble wrap from that as well. But I'm sure you already know all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed these projects using these new alphabet stencils. I really had so much fun playing with them. I have got more ideas too, especially using them in my art journal, but because I was sending these to Tracy, I didn't really want to send my art journal, so I thought I'd just do kind of card projects to show you, and obviously this canvas too. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it gives you a bit of inspiration of how to use alphabet kind of stencils, whether you get these ones or whether you've got other ones in your stash. And I just remembered I was going to show you other stuff as well, wasn't I? Okay, I'll be back in 1 minute to show you the other bits and pieces that I was going to show. Okay, so there were other things I was going to show you and I just completely forgot, but then luckily I remembered before I turned the camera off. So, let's show you what I meant by scaffolding. So there's two kind of ways that you could do this. You could either go straight in with a pen and draw around the letter, avoiding the areas where those kind of bars are, you know, that sort of split the letter up into multiple parts. So you can just sort of go round and avoid drawing in those areas, so that when you take it off, you can then join the rest of it up. This can look a little bit messy in some cases, like it does look a little bit messy now, but if that happens and you've done it onto like a finished project, just go around it a couple more times and deliberately make it look more messy. So make it look like a scribbly kind of outline to something. You can even add like little hashes, squiggly bits, dots. This is my favourite kind of thing to do, because it means you don't have to get it perfect, but it still looks really nice. So that's one way of doing this kind of scaffolding design. Or you could just take your number and you can take a pencil, completely trace around the whole thing with a pencil. Again, if you hold your pencil or your pen completely upright, it really helps get a good image or impression. And then for this kind of technique, you can then just come in with your pen and join the lines up without tracing over everything. So you get a much smoother kind of a look, and obviously finish going around the rest of the number as well. And if you do this slower than I am, you'll be more accurate. But you can really like fill that in without having those missing portions that you get with a stencil. And because you've actually drawn round this over the top of the pencil line, it really does make it look like you did it yourself, which is really nice. So again, it's a little bit wobbly. If you get it looking wobbly, you can just do this kind of thing to it and make it deliberately look like you were trying to do that. But that's another way of doing that kind of scaffolding sort of technique. Then I also wanted to show you this. When I was tracing this for the number 28 card, I was thinking that really looks like a question mark. So I thought I would just show you that you can easily turn these stencils into different things if you see them as you're using them. So you could just do it like that. Oh, got stuff in the way. And then just draw the bottom piece, so it's a question mark. If you wanted a question mark on a card, you know, you've got an instant question mark there. Or the X, it kind of looks like a really grumpy face, like that. But I was thinking, before I saw that it was a grumpy face, I was thinking that you could do some cool like chevron designs, because you can draw it once and then pull it down a bit and draw it again. And I mean, this could be doodles onto something that you've already done. You don't have to do this kind of thing first. You could have done an inky background or maybe a jelly print background and you're not really sure what to do with it. You could just do some cool like doodles and stuff onto it. And you could also bring in the other parts of the X and like do a funny end to the design that just has one portion of a a chevron on it, so you can really create some cool designs. And then you could go back in to them and add some stripes and colour them in, add some spots. This kind of thing is really good for kids to do as well. You could draw all of the outlines for them and then get them to doodle it in the middle, or you could have fun drawing some patterns and doodling in them and then get them to colour them in as well. So lots of different things that you can do with these stencils, whether you use them as the letters and the numbers, or whether you think outside the box and look at the shapes that are in them, and think of different ways of using them as well. I mean, even that number 5, that could be a different quirky kind of question mark as well. You could do a different kind of question mark with that one. Or this would make some nice patterns. You've got this sort of piece like this. If I do this upper border of a card, no one's ever going to know that that was a letter Z. But it would give a really cool border design to a card. And also, if you have other stencils in your stash that have got maybe hearts in or spots in, or like this one, that's also a Creative Expressions one of their little mini stencils, you could add the spotty design into anything that you've drawn as well, using a stencil rather than doing it freehand if you don't like doing it freehand. Or you could even bring in something like that. Lots of different things you can do with them, whether you use part of it to do a outline and then do freehand in the middle, or whether you use stencils for all of it. There's loads of different things that you can do. You could even just use the circle hole that's punched in it to create polka dots as a design on something that you've traced as well. And you can do a partial one on the edge too. So loads of different ideas. And now I can end the video properly and say that I really hope you enjoyed these kind of projects and stuff, and some different ways of how you can use them as well, and different mediums that you can use with them. Like, some of you may not have heard of masking fluid, or kind of know how you could use it in card making rather than more in like art pieces like watercolour painting and stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you again in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe. Bye!